Hey everyone, welcome. It is the last episode of the Marketing Moms podcast, and it's super bittersweet. We're going to talk about our decision. We're going to hear some from you all, our wonderful community who we couldn't have done this without, and more. So, Angela has titled So Long and Thanks for All the Fish, whatever the heck that means.
I wasn't sure if you'd get that reference. Somebody will. Somebody out there listening is going to get that.
So in that case, we're going to find out what that is. And I have an idea, but I could be off base. But anyway.
Okay.
Here we go.
Balancing building a successful business and being a superstar mom is hard. And yet, in today's digital world, it's more common than ever.
The question becomes, how do we successfully grow a business and children at the same time?
Join us for a candid conversation as we share our insights into marketing and motherhood. I'm Angela Reeder.
And I'm Jessie Valle. Welcome to the Marketing Moms podcast. All right, Angela, what does thanks for all the fish mean?
Okay. So because this probably won't end up being our official title, I will explain. It's from the book. It's from the book series Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, well then no. And I had no clue.
It's mentioned in the first book, and it's the title of the fourth book in the series. But in the very beginning of the first book, the Earth ends up getting destroyed to make like an interstellar highway. But right before the Earth gets destroyed, all of the dolphins disappear and leave a message that, when it's translated, says, "So long and thanks for all the fish."
That makes me look at dolphins in a whole new light. That's why they're so intelligent.
It is a very, very geeky reference, but Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy was very popular when I was young, and they made a movie about it, so somebody is going to get it. But yes, so long and thanks for all the fish is like a geeky way of saying goodbye.
Goodbye. Yeah, I love it. I mean, I always thought I was a geek, but apparently I'm not geeky enough. I mean, I've heard of the book, but I have not read it.
Oh, I love it. It's amazing.
Maybe it's because I don't read a lot of sci-fi.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, that's fair. I'm not a big sci-fi fan either, but it's very funny in the way that it's written. So
cool. Big sigh.
Yeah.
So I just don't know how to start this conversation. I mean, I know, but it's hard. So last night, even my sister was asking, so what are you going to talk about on your last episode? And I was like, I don't know. Angela and I are just going to kind of let it flow.
Yeah.
And that's because we wanted this episode to be very heartfelt and straight off the cuff. And let's be honest, after 150 episodes, I think Angela and I have gotten pretty good about just having a conversation with each other on air. The truth is that for, oh goodness, basically at least half the episodes, I don't even know when we started using this program, but we haven't edited our episodes
in a long time.
Probably 100 episodes. The first few, I remember it was a long process. We would record and then we would edit and we would have a lot of mistakes to cut out. And now we just hit record, free flow, hit stop, and boom, like put it up an hour later. So we have definitely gotten a lot better at, I don't know, podcasting, I guess.
Yeah, just podcasting.
That's funny.
I remember looking at the transcripts of the first few episodes that were just full of uhs and ums and big, long, minute-long pauses.
Oh, yeah, because I remember we used to just pause and then just like let it sit, because I know that's what I needed to cut out.
Yes. But yeah, since we got this, it's been very just kind of free flow. We haven't worried about it so much. We've gotten better about pauses and uhs and ums and, losing our words. And
And I think also being okay with the fact that we don't have to be perfect.
Yes,
We don't
that was a
have to
big
say the
thing
perfect
too.
thing. But not just that, being able to riff back and forth. Because I
Hmm.
know that, I mean, don't get me wrong, we still talk over each other a little, but not as bad as it was in the beginning.
No, no, we're better about it, much better about it now, giving each other time to finish our sentences.
So, a lot of you are asking why. And I actually, as soon as we started posting that we were going to be ending, I got several messages on different platforms. Like people were coming out of the woodwork to say, "What? Why?" And they were
Yeah.
shocked. And the truth is, Angela and I had to sit back and think what this podcast is, where it was going, where we are in our own lives, and what we could dedicate to the podcast. And ultimately, we decided it was time.
Yes. And it's partly my fault. I'll take the blame a little bit for it.
You can, but I am so stinking proud of you.
So I got the opportunity, I got a really big scholarship and got the opportunity to take some classes and get some really important certifications in the cybersecurity industry. And it is a ridiculous opportunity, but it is very, very fast paced. It is, what should be months and months of study within like less than 3 months to take these. So it's very intensive, it's very fast paced, it's very exciting, but it does take up just an absolute ton of time. And so once that was kind of taken out of my schedule and combined with some other things that Jessie and I had going on, it just became a bit too much to continue on with the podcast as well.
I mean, I know we could have continued on with the podcast, but
Mm-hmm.
we would not have given any effort into growing
Right.
or putting any extra effort other than the bare minimum. And Angela and I are not bare minimum type people. If we can't do something to the absolute best of our abilities and beyond, we don't want to do it. And that's kind of where we ended. It was like, you know what? This podcast has been amazing, but everything has its space and time. And for us, this time in our lives has come to a close because we are ready to take that time that we prioritized here on the podcast to put towards other things that weren't a part of our lives 3 years ago.
Right. Yes. It's less the actual even recording time
Hmm.
so much as all of the peripherals that go into making a podcast that you don't really think about before
Yeah,
you start making a podcast. But, Jessie mentioned earlier there was the editing, publishing, making sound bites, making social media posts, focusing on growth, things like that, that take up a lot of extra time outside of just the 30 or 45 minutes a week that we put out on the podcast.
right. Yeah, yeah. It's a lot bigger than a lot of people realize, especially when you're just doing it yourself.
Yeah.
Now, I think that after 3 years, we've definitely cut down on the time because we've got it
Mm-hmm.
more into a
Yeah.
science, but that took us a lot of time. I I think that I'm most proud of us that we stuck it out every single week. We've never missed a week
Right.
for 150 weeks in a row. And a lot of people will quit after like 20 episodes.
Right. Yeah, we did every single week. There were a couple weeks that we came out like a half hour late. I think there was one week Jessie scheduled it to come out on a Thursday instead of a Wednesday because I remember getting a panicked message from Jessie.
Yeah,
But other
but
than
that
that,
doesn't
but
count because we had the episode
no,
recorded.
we had the episode. It was ready. It just got scheduled for the wrong day, and it did come out every single week. We have put out a podcast episode for 150 weeks, and that is very impressive.
And not only that, we wrote a book.
We wrote a book. We did write a book.
Yeah. I
Which
mean,
was
and that in and of itself, I feel like I gained a lot of experience from this as well.
right.
So also, this did come at a good time because I don't know if you guys remember, but back, gosh, it had to have been like August or September, I decided to file to trademark Marketing Moms.
Mm-hmm.
And just this last week, we got the notification that it was denied for various reasons. I probably botched the application, who knows. But the truth of the matter is I learned from that experience.
Yeah.
And yes, I could turn around and fight that, but since we're ending the podcast, I'm not. I'm going to let
It's
it
not
go.
really any point. Yeah.
But it was interesting to have that experience also in my life because without this podcast, when would I have ever had that experience?
Right. Yeah. Writing the book was an experience. Publishing the book was an
Mm-hmm.
experience. Going through, self-publishing
Yep.
was a whole new thing.
I think it helped us realize that we could do more than we thought we could.
Yeah. Yeah. I would never have imagined publishing a book, having a 3-year podcast.
Mm-hmm.
All of those things is just baffling. Creating a planner. We made a planner.
Oh, yeah, we
That
made the
was another
planner.
thing we did.
That was really cool.
Yeah. So
And
lots
of
of new
course, we made
experiences.
150 episodes.
And we made 150 episodes. We came up with 150 things to talk about.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, yes. We're it's bittersweet because we love this podcast, but at the same time, since our decision, we have no regrets. We
Yeah.
know in our hearts this is the right move. So we want to just thank you all so much for your support, for listening, for participating, because obviously we couldn't have done this without you. Like it it has been really nice knowing that we're talking to someone and we couldn't have done that without all of you.
Yeah. It's been a ride to make something and know that there are people out there that are listening to it and taking away things from it and growing and learning from it and enjoying it. It's been a really, really good ride.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So let's jump into some of the comments we received from you all, our fans. uh, we asked if anyone wanted to send us well wishes or last comments,
Yep.
questions, favorite episodes, anything, because we wanted to hear from you all as well, because we wanted this last episode for you to be a part of it as much as we are. So let's see. This first one says, this was kind of a response to us ending.
Yeah.
Really? I know you have your reasons, and I trust that everyone is making choices for their best interest to benefit their past, present, and future selves. But I truly am sorry to see this coming to an end. I absolutely enjoyed being a featured guest, and Marketing Moms podcast will forever hold a special place in my heart.
Oh.
Yeah. Now, this particular person also would tag us and promote our stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Yes.
uh, and I know that she got a lot of use out of the book. And that makes me feel good, right? Like, I've had
Yes.
a couple people say that there are little golden nuggets in the book, and that right there makes it all worth it. I think that a
Absolutely.
lot of times you put out things like our podcast episodes or the book or whatever, and you're like, does anybody care? Is anybody going to get anything out of this? And
Yeah.
I feel like we've touched at least one person for each. The book, the
Yes.
podcast, we've touched at
Yep.
least one person, mission accomplished. accomplished.
Yep. So, our next comment says Marketing Moms podcast has served a great purpose for so many women who are working mothers. This podcast has helped remind me, first of all, that I'm not crazy, life is. Secondly, I know I'm not alone on an island by myself. There is community among commonality. I take deep encouragement from that. Thank you, Angela and Jessie, for dedicating so much of your time and energy to benefit this sisterhood.
Yeah, I thought that was really sweet. And honestly, her comment stuck with me because there was something else happening later that day, when we first got it, and I said, "Okay, I'm not crazy. Life is."
Life is. Yes, I that was really got me too. I was like, yeah, that's basically it.
And I like that we've been able to not only have conversations with each other and give, but you all, our community, has been able to give back to us as well, because
Yes.
I think that that's one thing Angela and I have openly done, is say we're not perfect. We're learning,
Mhm.
and we're not we never jumped on this podcast to say this is the way you have to do
This is
something. We are
exactly the way to do
experts. We're over here like we're struggling too. We're just trying to figure out, here's what we've learned.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, the next one. Having to choose one favorite episode is a hard one, but if I had to choose one, it would be my favorite episode 24, 5 gift giving tips. I do keep myself busy and loved getting ideas on how I can gift give in a more thoughtful slash organized way. There are other episodes I enjoyed as well. I will miss listening to you too. Best wishes on your future endeavors, from a mama of 7 and one of your biggest fans. Yeah.
That was sweet. I liked that episode. That was a fun episode.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Just I kind of pride myself in trying to give thoughtful gifts. And so that was a
Mhm.
really fun one to be like, here's what I've learned about gift giving.
Yes.
Slash, listen to this so that you can give me good gifts.
Here's how to give me gifts.
I love that. Uh,
Oh goodness. All
and
right.
our
So
last
our
comment here was from our marketing dad.
dad. Yes, I was gonna say our last comment's not from a marketing mom. But it says the podcast was super helpful, not only my wife, but also for myself. I have enjoyed the conversations you've had on this show, and then the book was also full of hidden gems. Chapter 2 of the book, which is something you've spoken on, you talk about how you don't need all the nicest equipment to run a business. You mentioned that people said you couldn't run a business with a Chromebook, and you proved them wrong. That was super simple yet super powerful because people relate to that more, I think, than we realize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I had to wrap up, like, if there are 5 things that you could take away from this podcast, one of
Yes,
them would
that's one of
be
them.
that you can run a business from a Chromebook, because
Yes, you
Angela did
can
it for
run a business
years.
from a Chromebook. Yeah, years and years. A web development business from a
Yeah,
Chromebook,
at
no
that.
less. So so you definitely can. You don't need all the fanciest equipment to
Yeah.
run your
I
business.
just think that that's an excuse that people have that have held them back. But also, I think when you're ready to do something, in this case, start a business,
Mhm.
it's really helpful to find people that have done it and have experience and can give you tips. And
Yes.
so for us to come out and say, you can run a business on a Chromebook, I think that
Mhm.
that was really helpful for a lot of people, because maybe that is something that was holding them back, like a limiting belief saying, I can't do this. I just don't have enough money for a computer.
Yep.
Yeah. You don't need
Yeah.
all the bells and
You
whistles.
don't need all the fancy things.
I tried thinking about what my favorite episode was, and I can't. I just can't.
Mm.
I can talk about, I mean, obvious, because it's like it's like the podcast.
Yes.
They're my 150 children, and I
Yes.
can't
You
choose
can't
one I
choose
like
just
more than the
one.
others. I will say, though, that the episodes that surprised me the most were the ones that I went in thinking, I'm not sure I have a lot to say on this. And then leaning on you to lead the conversation. And then I realized,
Right.
oh, maybe I did have more to say on it than I thought.
Mhm. Yeah, those were the funnest to make, where we would start and go, I don't know, this is gonna be like a really short episode. Like if we can get 10 minutes out of it, like I think that'll be good. And then we
38
hit
minutes
stop
later.
record and it's 42 minutes later. We're like, oh, we did have something to say. I don't think I have a specific favorite episode. I've definitely had favorite things that we've talked about. I've
Mhm.
really enjoyed talking about taking time off as a business owner, because I know that comes up a lot and we get asked about that. I've enjoyed talking about um our favorite tech things
Mhm.
and different things that we do around the house to kind of help incorporate our kids into the business, and also to help make sure that we're setting good boundaries with our family and our clients. Those have been some of my favorite things to talk about and recurring through a lot of the podcasts.
Yeah. I think some of my favorites were the ones that we talked about emotions and mindset, because we openly admit that we're not the greatest at that. We have our own limiting beliefs and our own struggles. And we did those episodes more for us, right? Like, here are top tips that we need to give ourselves. Let's give ourselves a pep talk. And oh, you're just listening in on the conversation. I liked those because, again, I felt like the amount of times in anything we talked about that we said, this is not the way, it's just a way.
Mhm.
And the best way is the way that works best for you.
Yeah.
To me, I don't know. I just enjoyed being able to feel like we're more of a part of a community
Yeah.
instead of just, this is the way, follow me. Because Angela and I have never been that way.
No. No, we've never been our way or the highway kind of
Hmm.
podcasters. One thing I will miss, and I'm sure Jessie will not miss, is my animals popping up into the conversation. We tried the first few episodes to kind of cut out, and I'm getting better with the mute button, to especially with the dogs. Um, but we tried the first few episodes to cut out all of the craziness that goes on in my house. And then I think it was like episode 10 or 11, we were finally like, you know what, we're just going to leave it. It's
Like, this is who we are.
how it is. Yeah.
Angela's office
There's
is in the middle of her
craziness.
living room. Deal with it.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So kids, cats, dogs, animals, people coming to the door. It's just insanity here, and
Well,
we
and
just
we don't have
it.
to apologize for who we are.
Right.
If you don't like it, don't listen. It was simple.
Yeah. And in case anyone wonders, yes, they do also do that when I'm on calls with clients. And I have had several clients comment on how adorable my animals are. So, there's
Well,
that, I
I'm
guess.
just waiting. If there's not an episode with your husband blowing his nose at least once, I mean, what
Right?
is life?
What is it? Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I yeah. I can't speak to that because I have an office kind of away from everybody. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we've talked about that in episodes,
Hmm.
saying not to try and hide who you are, and that your clients and people who will work with you will respect the fact of what you're
Yeah.
going through, right? And I think especially now that there's a lot of people working remotely,
Yeah.
life happening is just a part of that. Going through the pandemic and just seeing things go viral about, like, You remember that one where the kid comes in and then the mom pulls the kid
Oh, yeah.
out, and it's like
Yeah.
that doesn't happen anymore because it's like, "Oh, my kid's here. Okay, go away, sweetie."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
no big
nobody's trying to
deal.
pretend like their kid's not in the room with them.
Exactly, and I think that we've been able to admit that while work and home life, people have tried to keep it separate for ages, and I understand the whole work-life balance, but at the end of the day,
Mhm.
it's the whole thing is your life.
Yeah.
So embrace it together.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's been kind of the one main theme throughout all the episodes is that, like, there's not really a balance. There
Mhm.
is a balance, but it's not the way people it's not like
It's
a
constantly
seesaw.
moving. There's never, like, a point where it's
Yeah.
just, like, done.
Yeah. You're never going to get equal business, equal life, and everything's perfect and running smoothly. There's always going to be something throwing something off, something that needs a little more of your attention, something that's getting a little less of your attention. But
Yeah.
I think when you focus so much on, oh, this is my work and then this is my life, you forget that you still have to live that part of your life that you're working. Like,
Yeah.
it's not you're not pushing pause on your time on this earth by working. Like, you still have to use that up, and so I think it's easy to forget that when, especially even when you're working remotely, especially when you're working remotely, because it feels like everything bleeds over and oh, I can just sit down and do this thing real quick and it'll be okay. But it's important to make sure that you're carving out time specifically for work and specifically for your family so that they get your undivided attention the way they deserve.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I I didn't know when we hit start if this was gonna be, like, a normal episode or if it was gonna be, like, a
Mhm.
3-hour episode.
Yeah.
But that's kinda where I'm feeling. I'm like, "I'm not ready to say goodbye, but I don't know if I have anything else to say."
Yeah.
So what's next? What's next for you, Angela?
Working on those certifications, maybe getting a job, not sure. Still enjoying my business, still enjoying my clients, hoping to hang on to those or even pivot and use, my business with the cybersecurity certifications to work as a contractor and a freelancer still. But mostly that, enjoying my kids. Summer's coming up, so they're going to be home, they're going to be wanting to do stuff and go places, and that's always an interesting balance to play when you're working from home to try and keep your kids entertained and get stuff done.
Yeah. For
What about
me,
you?
still meeting with you in the mornings at least twice a
Oh,
week.
definitely. Yeah.
Angela and I have agreed that while we're not meeting to hit record, we are still meeting. We are not going to
Yes.
let we're not going to let our friendship be the podcast. And it
Right.
never has been. The podcast has just kind of been, you know, fun to do together.
Extra.
Yeah. And I kid you not, how many episodes we would jump on and be like, "You're never gonna believe what happened yesterday." Da, 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 da. And then it's like,
Yeah.
hold up, let me hit record and then tell me the
Yes.
whole story. So it's like a lot of times we were just hopping on to talk about what we were already going to talk about. We just
Yeah.
recorded it so that you all could enjoy the story as well. Um, there's that. There are other things in my life that I want to prioritize, and I'm ready to prioritize. Things like my health, maybe being more active, and that's how I'm choosing to pivot my podcast time. Like time
Mhm.
that I was going to spend doing all those peripheral things that Angela talked about for the podcast. I want to take those and turn them into something else in my life, and trying really hard not to turn it into another side hustle.
Yeah.
Because I was like, wait a minute, if I'm not making money with my time, what am I doing? And that's, again, a personal issue that I have, to be like, wait a minute, I don't have to be so productive. Okay, side story. So I have been loving, there's this HGTV show. Um, Gosh, no, I'm not going to remember. Is it the Fixer to Fabulous? Anyway, it's this husband and wife, and they renovate homes and stuff, and they get this opportunity to go renovate an old Italian villa in Italy for some friends. And part of it, they hit this point where they're like, okay, well, we only have a couple days left, and then everybody's taking off the whole month of August. And it's like, wait, what? The
The
whole country shuts down for an entire
whole
month?
thing?
Like, everybody? And they're like, yeah. And then
Wow.
that's like, we're moving to Italy. Like,
Right?
it made me realize that it is so hard. It's this American culture of go, go, go. And if you are not
Yeah.
productive, like what society deems productive
Right.
with your time 150%, then it's a waste. And actually, I was driving home yesterday from visiting with my sister. And even though it was, seriously, I live 5 minutes away from my sister. In those 5 minutes, I felt like I was wasting my time because I was driving home.
Right. Like
I'm
I
not
could be doing
learning. I'm
something
not,
else.
I'm not
Yeah.
doing something productive. And I was like, that's ridiculous. So I will be the first to admit that I still have a long way to go on my own mental,
Yeah.
just, yeah, life lessons, and working on
Yes.
myself and figuring out what I want to do and who I want to be and how I want to spend my time on this earth.
Yeah.
And that doing things for myself is not a waste of time.
Right. Exactly. I will say I was having a hard time with the podcast coming to an end and feeling like I should be able to fit everything in, you
Mm,
know? Um, but I had, at the time of our recording, a few days ago, was the solar eclipse, which I'm sure most of you are aware of if you are anywhere in the United States or near the United States, because it
yeah.
was big news. And we were in the path of totality. And I was, the morning of the eclipse, we went over to my in laws, and I was hemming and hawing over whether or not I should take my computer to try and do some work before and after, and like cram some stuff in while I was like at my in laws. My brother in law came in from South Dakota, and I was like, maybe I should take my computer and do some work.
Mm,
um, which I did end up taking my computer. I did not work. My very smart husband was like, just bring it and then you'll have it if you want it. And if you get to, finally relax or whatever, then you can. But we went out and got to see, totality, which was a first for me. I've never seen a total solar eclipse, but watching my kids watch that and just having a moment where I was like, I am so glad that we can be together and I can spend this time with them and I am not stuck at work. Like, I know there were some people that were stuck at work. My husband actually had to work, but he took his computer over there to work. So that he was
mhm.
doing the bounce back and forth, but he did get to enjoy it with us. And I was really grateful that we all got to see that. And it reminded me that it's okay to slow down for a minute. It's okay to have a little bit of free space in your schedule. It's okay to give yourself the opportunity to experience new things. I know Jessie and I have both recently picked up relatively new hobbies, as a way, I think, partly of just keeping ourselves sane
Yeah.
with and giving ourselves something we can use to kind of relax with. But yeah, it's okay to take the time to do those things, and you don't have to be productive 24/7 to have a worthwhile life. I think was a big thing that I realized just a few days ago, which has helped a little bit coming up to the end of the podcast and recording this final episode.
Yeah. That just because we're not producing something that the world can listen to doesn't mean we're not being
Yeah.
productive with our lives. Yeah. So I haven't like gone over all of this with Angela yet, but I'm just going to do it on air.
Oh, okay.
So I was thinking about how I don't know if we're going to continue to host the podcast on Apple and all those other
Mhm.
things, but we can certainly continue to post everything on YouTube and have it live there
Yes.
forever.
Yeah.
So that if anyone ever goes to marketingmomspodcast.com,
Yeah.
then it would forward to YouTube.
Yeah.
Um, and then of course the book is still on Amazon. So
Yep.
we would just forward marketingmomsbook.com over to Amazon.
To
And
Amazon. Yeah.
so, I mean, there's still going to be ways that our legacy can live on,
Yes.
even if it's not in the same way that it has been. So, if there's anything that you want to come back and reference or anything, like, you can do it. I mean, we're not also looking to shut down Instagram at any time soon. I
Right.
don't think we're going to be posting anymore,
Right.
but you can certainly go there and we'll get the message.
Yes.
But if you do want to reach us individually, Angela, how can people reach you?
Well, probably Instagram is the easiest at this
Yeah.
point, and that's at Technical Geekery. Um, and you can just send a DM, and I'll get it. It might take me a day to respond because generally I see those messages and go, "Oh, I don't want to open that," because it's always something weird.
Spam.
Spam. So so if I don't answer back in a couple hours, it's not because I'm ignoring you. I just am gathering up the courage to open the message.
Yeah. And then for myself, yeah, Instagram's probably the best because if I hop on social media, Instagram's usually it. And I am at Jessie M. Valle. And I'm kind of like Angela. Like, one thing I felt like with this podcast is that I wanted to continue to have a
Yeah.
presence online and everything for you all, but the truth is I don't like social media, and if I check it once a week, we'll be lucky. So I mean, I'll get the notification if someone messages me, but honestly, I am looking forward to not having to jump on social media all the time.
Yeah.
So there
I
are silver linings to this as well.
Yes. That's nice. I am on social media, but I don't post very often. I mostly just lurk and look at other people's things more than I post. I'm gonna
Yeah,
try to
that's
be
fair.
better on my own Instagram, but I'm not gonna. I'd like every year. I'm like, this is the year I'm gonna be on social media, and then it's like July, and I still haven't posted anything.
Yeah, so it goes. I would say at the end of the day, we're still living some pretty worthwhile lives.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, well, thank you, Angela, for doing this with me. That came from a little idea of, hey, I want to start a podcast. Angela, do this with me.
Thank you for
Or it wasn't
including me.
even a podcast, it was, I want to start
No,
something.
I want to start something. Do you want to do a YouTube show or a podcast? And I
I
was like,
know.
absolutely not on the video.
Like, I was all ready to start a YouTube channel. Like, let's
Oh,
do this. And you're like, yeah, no, I will not do it with you if we have to show our faces all the time. Which ended up being the perfect decision because for us, recording early in the morning was best. And
mhm.
it really worked out that we didn't have to do our hair and our makeup and all the things. You know, we showed up in our pajamas and bathrobes a lot of the time. Like, it was totally fine. because with audio only, it doesn't matter. Now,
Exactly.
for the record, we can see each other. So I think that's another thing that
Yeah.
helps our conversation flow is we can see each other. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
It worked out.
it did. Yep. So we are going to miss everyone. We will have, obviously, when this comes out, there will be an Instagram post up for it. So if you have anything that you would like to share with us or comments on favorite episodes or anything like that, please feel free to comment on that. We'd love to see them. Feel free to DM us anytime if you have questions, or if you are listening, if you have found this podcast in like 10 years and you have questions, you can DM us and say, hey, on this episode
You
we
said
will
this. Please elaborate.
please help me.
Yeah, just because we're not going to be recording weekly doesn't mean that we're not here to support the sisterhood,
Yes,
as
exactly.
one of our listeners mentioned. We're still here. We're just focusing on other things in our lives. That's okay.
Yeah.
So take care, everyone, and we will see you around.
Bye.
Bye. Angela, I was waiting for you to say bye.
I said bye.
I didn't hear it. Say it again.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for joining us today. We're so honored this is where you chose to spend your time.
If this episode helped you in some way, please share it with another mom who needs to hear it. We're in this together.
And if you're ready for next steps, free goodies, and more, head over to marketingmomspodcast.com.
We'll see you next week.